Good evening, viewers. My name is Joe, and I am a weapon of mass instruction. And I know you can't really see me right now because I'm outside on my little balcony, and due to another YouTube user who posted a couple of videos that I noticed, I started paying attention to the moon at night, and I've been noticing a couple of odd things. Now, this guy, a couple days ago, he took a video while he was walking his dog at 3 in the morning, and he noticed that the moon looked a whole lot bigger than normal. And he predicted some sort of natural disaster for the next day. Sure enough, massive tornadoes hit Texas. I can't remember the guy's name. I'm going to look that up. I'm going to put it on the description down below. But, I started paying attention to the moon, and the guy was freaking right. It looks a whole lot bigger now. Right now it's a full moon, so obviously it's going to look bigger to begin with, but the total, radius or diameter or whatever you want to say, is definitely, seems to be bigger than normal. On top of which, I noticed something odd about the position of the moon. Now, I'm not so spun up on astronomy to where I know for sure where the moon's supposed to rise and set each and every night, so I'm going to have to look that up. But real quick, I know you guys can't really see, but there's the lights from the houses pretty much across the street, and zooming in, you can't really see them, and you can't really see the sky, but that's where the moon was last night at about this time. Right now it's about 10 o'clock. My clock says 9:59. It's a minute slow. So there we go. 10 o'clock, the moon was right about there last night. All right? The night before, it was slightly over 10 o'clock. Tonight, the moon is way the fuck over there. Now, again, I'm no astronomer. I'm interested in this shit. That's pretty cool. I've never seen the moon shine yellow like that. At least on camera. It's always been a lighter shade, like gray-white. I'm no astronomer, but I do know that it's kind of odd for the moon to rise here one night, and I really wish I had video evidence of this from last night, but I didn't think of looking at the position of the moon last night, simply the size, but it was right there at about 10 o'clock. Oh, there's my battery. And now, here we go, a change of, I estimate, about 60 degrees out of a circle. At least 40 or 50 degrees. So I'm estimating, okay, so there's where it was last night compared to where it was tonight. And I'm really interested in seeing what it's going to be like tomorrow night. By the way, today is the 6th of April, 2012. So if anybody out there is an expert on the moon and stellar bodies, maybe they can tell me something about this, why it shifted so far over. It seems to me to be something kind of odd, but I've also been hearing all sorts of nifty stuff about how the Earth's axis has actually shifted a couple of times over the past couple of years, and in one case that I recall, I can't remember the name of the airport, but apparently an airport was closed while they recalibrated all of their navigation equipment to account for the new axis. Weird shit is going on. I don't know if it's got anything to do with this hypothetical Planet X, although if you find the videos where they talk about the coordinates in the sky, I heard that that Google actually recently pasted over that little censored block of space with just regular stars. But people in power would do something like that. Although, it's a little bit late. Closing the barn doors after the horses escape, or something of that nature. Anyway, this isn't a full-fledged weapon of mass instruction video. I don't have anything particularly scholarly for you today. That was just my little tidbit. Something is afoot, and it doesn't look great. I recently saw videos of FEMA camps sitting empty, waiting for people, with a fencing was 9 feet tall with barbed wire angled inward to prevent people from getting out of the train yard. Spooky. Fucking spooky. I watched an hour and a half long documentary called 188 Days, where a guy basically found this pattern of earthquakes every 188 days, which according to him correlates with the orbit of Planet X and how it intersects with or converges with the positions of the Earth and the Sun, and basically affects the gravity thereof and the axis and the positioning, and that was his little theory. And a little bit of evidence that corroborates that. It's not perfect evidence, but it's, at least circumstantial. Look on the National Geological Survey webpage and check out their list of earthquakes, major earthquakes 7.0 or above, and check out what dates are the highest concentration during the course of the last 2 to 3 years. There's people talking about this Planet X. Its orbit around the sun is every 3,600 years. Or in one case, somebody said 3,500, but that was not an exact estimate. He was basically using the Bible as an analogy. Jesus apparently rose from the dead noon of the third day, so 3.5 days, and that was an analogy or a metaphor for the orbit of Planet X. Therefore, in the eyes of God, 1,000 years is as a day, and to him a day is whatever. I can't remember the passage, but I'm sure everybody's heard that one before. So if you translate 3.5 days to thousands of years, that comes out to 3,500, 3,500 years. So I decided to take a look at major historical happenings. 3,500 years ago was, if I'm not mistaken, about the time of Moses and the Exodus, about the time of the Tower of Babel, and about the time of, apparently there was a massive volcano. I want to say Mount Etna, but my memory is shot. Look it up. Look up, subtract 3,600 away from 2012. That's your date BCE. And look it up on Wikipedia. Wikipedia is not a perfect source of knowledge, but it does have some interesting factoids that have been, so far, fairly accurate. So that's it. That massive volcanic eruption, which, apparently brought about a very large die-off, an extinction event of animals in the world. And that was interesting right there and then. So I decided to subtract another 3,600 years. That was the estimated date of the Great Flood and Noah, and that whole thing going on. Some more interesting stuff there, and that was the first great diaspora of human civilization. It started in one spot and spread. 3,600 years before that, it got a little sketchy, but that was basically, and also the ends of different technological eras correspond to those dates too, which is kind of funny. Beginning of the Bronze Age, or was it the end of the Bronze Age, beginning of the Iron Age, end of the Copper Age, beginning of the Bronze Age, like all that stuff. Like look those up too, and they correspond. 3,600 years ago before that, got a little sketchy, but that was estimated to be the date of the first civilization, the first actual civilization where people went from being nomads to actually creating permanent settlements. The first city, the first nation state, all that. And apparently there was also the Ice Age at that point. That was I believe the last push of the last great ice age. But again, you go further back in time, and things get a lot more general. According to Wikipedia, I'd have to look into other sources to corroborate, but unfortunately I don't have those sources available very easily at my disposal. But there it is. There are patterns going on, and they do tend to correspond with these. I got to be honest, they sound pretty crazy, some of these theories. But you know what? Like, Occam's razor does not always apply. It's not always the simplest cause. It's not always the simplest event. It's not always the simplest, cause and effect. And if you ask my opinion, cause and effect doesn't exist the way people assume that it does. 1 plus 1 does not always equal 2. It depends on your relative location, speed, all that stuff. You know what I mean? If you're heading away from this equation, 1 plus 1 might equal 2.5. If you're heading towards it, 1 plus 1 might equal 1.8. You know what I mean? So things to consider there. If nothing else, it would sure make an interesting sci-fi movie or book. There's another one to look up. I have it on my favorites now. 4-part series about a guy who retranslated the Bible and its stories into ancient Sumerian cuneiform, the logographs, one of their methods of writing shit down. And his retranslation, I can't remember what he called it, but it wasn't exactly a translation, but finding the literal meanings of all the words, corroborated this epically weird story, this epically weird theory. And you know what? Like, half of me says, okay, this is absolute bullshit. He's just off his rocker. But the other half of me is listening to this and reading what he's writing down. And, of course, I'm a layman. I don't know what the Sumerian words are for this, that, and the other thing. I don't know Hebrew. I don't remember, half of what I read in the Bible back in the day, But a lot of it makes sense when he puts it down on paper. A lot of it makes sense in a really fucked up, sick sort of way. And how ironic would it be? How ironic would it be? I thought about this when the movie The Matrix came out. Like, one of those weird fucking thoughts popped into my head. If we were in the Matrix, and I was the machines, the collective of the AI, and I wanted my human subject batteries to be docile, why not make a movie based on the truth? And therefore, everybody would watch this movie and say, wow, that is some awesome science fiction. Put it out there as science fiction, and therefore people will not believe it if it's real. Now, I'm not saying we live in the Matrix, but that was just like a momentary thought, like, wow, we could be, and we would have no fucking clue. Think about that. We could be in the middle of this ancient galactic conflict over who's got whose DNA and who's the slave race and who's about to be saved. According to this guy with the Sumerian shit, like, according to him, Yahweh or God is equal to Satan or the serpent. It certainly makes for good viewing, if nothing else. So that's pretty much what I got for tonight. Again, weird shit going on with the moon. I'd really like some answers from people who know. I'm going to plug my phone in pretty soon and actually look it up. And if I do that before I upload, I'll put that in the description, what I find out on the Wikipedia or whatever, according to phases of the moon and the moon's orbit and blah, blah, blah. That's all I got for tonight. Again, my name is Joe. I am a weapon of mass instruction. The truth is out there, and the truth is in here. You just gotta look.